During the summer, we had our Thrive Drive, and tonight we'd like to encourage everyone to relax and enjoy a wonderful evening with explaining all the information about becoming the most vibrant, most healthy, most long-living, most well-adjusted community on the face of the earth. Our speaker today is best-selling author of The 100-Year Lifestyle, Dr. Eric Foster. Welcome.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. You know what? Before I get started, can I ask us to get in closer? Because I don't have a microphone, and I want you to be able to hear every word at the end of the first hour, not just at the beginning. So if you can get close, that would really be helpful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. There you go. Thank you for being here. Front row guy, I like that. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, everybody. Giants are winning. Welcome, everybody. World Series is tough to compete with, isn't it? Well, it's great to be here with you with so many of my good friends and their friends and their friends' friends, and coming all the way from Atlanta. And actually, this is a first. So you are the first group that I am ever going to present this presentation to over the age of 50. So as of yesterday, we are officially starting our half-century tour. So yesterday was my 50th birthday, and I got to tell you, I'm excited about that. I'm very excited about that. What a journey this has been. I really appreciate Dr. Jamie Lucia and her commitment to the Los Altos community, wanting you to be here. Dr. Benson, commitment to his community. Dr. Rosenhart, commitment to your community, your friends, having them here. Because these are people, Dr. Jen Corrado, where are you? There you are. Your commitment to your community, as our 100-Year Lifestyle affiliates are literally in communities all over this great country and expanding in this great country and in Canada to help people live healthier lives, to change the way we look at the world. So tonight, we're going to have a little fun. We're going to talk about change. We're going to look at how you could live your best life every single day on the way to 80, 90, 100 years and beyond. And just out of curiosity, how many of you have already read The 100-Year Lifestyle? Just out of curiosity. Okay, great. Very good. How many of you have ever heard of The 100-Year Lifestyle? That should get everybody's hand go up, right? Cool. Well, about a couple of quick stories before we get into the meat, as it's very relevant to you. And going way back, I got started, my background is in chiropractic. I started as a chiropractor really when I was 15 years old is when I became a chiropractor. No, I didn't get licensed at the age of 15, but spiritually, innately, I became a chiropractor. I was playing football in Spring Valley, New York, and went to block somebody and got blindsided, got knocked over. My back started to hurt really bad. I couldn't get up. I couldn't breathe. They ended up rushing me to the hospital where I saw the greatest orthopedist in the community. He gave me all these pills and drugs and said, "I'm sorry, Mrs. Plasker, I'm sorry." Eric at the time had a big red afro. Nothing that he said could penetrate that big red afro. And he said, "I'm sorry, but you just can't play for a month." And I looked at my mother, and we were on a winning streak, and I wanted to play. I mean, I'm a player. I wanted to play. And so I said, "Mom, we got to do something. We got to do something here. And I'm not going to take these drugs. I don't want to take these pills. Find me a solution." And so she took me the next day to a chiropractor, Dr. Ernie Landy in Spring Valley, New York. And he gave me what's called an adjustment. Raise your hand if you've been adjusted by a chiropractor. Okay, so most of you. I got adjusted that afternoon, and that morning, played that afternoon without any pain. I was psyched, very excited. And so I went initially to the chiropractor for an adjustment to get this crisis over with. But then as I learned more about chiropractic care, I started to go for what we call lifestyle care. I made chiropractic care part of my lifestyle. And I found that my health improved dramatically. My performance improved dramatically. So it wasn't just about the relief, which it initially was, but I realized, like a lot of, as you'll learn later on, pro athletes and many of the giants under chiropractic care, as for performance-based care, for lifestyle care, to keep themselves healthy and functioning at the top of their game. And so I started to approach chiropractic in my body, really, not chiropractic, but my body that way. And it made such a difference. And so I went to chiropractic college and opened my practice, and just one miracle after the other, and I really got inspired by what I was doing. But what really changed my life is when I met this man named Max. And if you've read the book, you've heard this story. Max was just the most beautiful 98-year-old man that I had ever seen. Actually, at the time, he was the only 98-year-old man I had ever seen. I had never met a 98-year-old guy before, and so when I met Max and I saw him come in, and he was really bent over and crippled, and he could not move, and he was shuffling in a lot of pain and really struggling to get around, and it broke my heart because this is one of the sweetest people I had ever seen or met. And so he comes in, and finally, he asked me this question after the consultation, after I met with him and asked him all these questions, but he asked me a question that kind of floored me. He said to me, "Dr. Plasker, can you help me?" Now, at the time, like I said, I had never even seen a 98-year-old man before. So if I hadn't seen one, I certainly hadn't adjusted one, right? So I said to him, and I could hear the voices of my mentors, and I said to Max, I said, "Max, honestly, I have no idea. But as long as you're alive and breathing, and there's life flowing over your nervous system, let's give it a shot." So I started to work with Max. Started to adjust him very gently, taking the pressure off the nerves, aligning his spine, getting everything balanced. And, you know, there's a lot of balance to go because he was really mangled looking. It was sad. And he would walk around and, you know, very slowly, but after a few adjustments, after about 30 days, he starts to move a little faster. And he starts to get a little pep in his step, and he's moving with a little more energy, and the pain lines start to disappear from his face, and he's smiling. Could you imagine? He's happy, he's smiling. And you know, it's interesting because I was really thinking, and I've told this story 4,372,000 times, and I'm exaggerating by probably 12 times. But I was really thinking about it the other day and thinking about this man and the impact that he had on my life. Because at the time, you know, I just thought he was just another person that was coming through my door. And somebody that he needed a lot of help. And so when he asked me that, and I started to work with him, and I started to see him start to move, I got excited because it was like when I said, and my mentor said to me, he said, you know, as long as they're alive, people are alive and breathing, and there's life flowing over their nervous system, what do you got to lose? What do you got to lose? And so, you know, here he is now, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and he's like all over the place. He's moving like a little racehorse, and he's getting this, you know, these little short little steps, this cute little guy going all over the place. And there were several things that I noticed about Max. The first thing when I met him that I noticed is that Max got to 98 years old, crippled. He could not move. He was suffering, incredible suffering. The second thing that I noticed about Max is that he didn't have any money. He was broke. Literally, he would come in, and I'll never forget this because he'd take his fingers when he would shake my hand. His fingers were very arthritic, and he would shake kind of like this, and his knuckles were big and gnarly looking. And he would take his hand, and he would stick it in the pocket of his pants, and he'd grab these dollar bills that were all crumbled up and crinkled up, and he'd lay them on the counter. And you know, I'm thinking to myself, and my staff and I, we talked about it. I said, how big could this suitcase possibly be, or this mattress possibly be? Because he had to be taking these dollar bills out of a mattress or a pillowcase or something. And he would always put them on the counter, and he would say, he'd shake my hand, and he'd say, "Thank you, Dr. Plasker, thank you." And he would leave. So he got there crippled and broke. And the third thing I noticed was that he was also alone. So Max had got to 98 years old, crippled, broke, and alone. Nobody was ever with him. He was always by himself. So we did what any one of our 100-year lifestyle affiliate chiropractors would do. We adopted him. We did. When we knew he was coming, we had extra food there for him. If he needed a ride, we'd offer it to him. We took him in. We wanted to take care of him. He was a very proud man. He didn't really want much. And he said it. We talked about it as a team. I said, you know what, let's just give this care to Max as a gift. He wouldn't take it. He said, no, Dr. Plaska, I know pay, I know come. He was proud. He valued his care. He valued it. He wanted to contribute. He did not feel good about not having an exchange. And so after 3 months, Max is moving all over the place. 6 months goes by. He's doing phenomenal. I'd be driving around town, and I'd see Max walking, and I'd honk the horn. I'd roll down my window, and Max, it's Dr. Plasker. And he'd be like, and he'd just wave up his arm the best that he could. And so it was really heartwarming to take care of this man. So a year goes by. Max never misses an appointment. He's 99 years old. And then all of a sudden, guess what happens?
He died.
Max misses an appointment. He misses an appointment. We reach out to him. There's no phone. We can't call him. I send my CA to his house, my assistant to his house. No answer at the door. So, 99 years old, what do you think we're thinking?
Died.
That he died. So we say a little prayer, and we go about our business. Now, another year goes by. Max is now over 100 years old. And guess who comes walking through the front door of the office? Max, right. Out of nowhere, he opens the door, jingle, jingle. He walks in. My assistant screams out like she had seen a ghost. She screams, Max! I'm in the back, and I'm like, Max? How could that be? And I'm like adjusting faster. I go around, right? And I walk to the front, and Max! And I gave him a big hug. And I looked down at him, and he looked up at me. And he was, literally, when I looked at him, he looked like a man who was exhausted, like he was ready to go. His eyes were hollow. He had a tear coming down his cheek. And he grabbed my hand like he had done so many times before. I said, Max, where have you been? And he grabs my hand, and he looks up at me, and he said to me, thank you, Dr. Plasker, thank you, and died. Right there in the reception room. Now, that had never happened to me before. I mean, in chiropractic offices, people come and they become more alive, they get more energy, they get inspired, they get healthy. And here Max passed. And what was interesting is literally, as soon as he leaned over, his spirit was gone. Rigor mortis had already set in. And so I tried to revive him, not even a possibility. The ambulance came, took him away, never to be heard from again. Except for the fact that I couldn't get it out of my head that if Max had known that he was going to live to be 100 when he was 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, or even 80, how would he have lived his life differently so that he didn't get there crippled, broke, or alone? That's a really good question and a good starting point for us tonight. See, the question that I ask you, that maybe you'll go home and you'll talk about with your family and your friends and your coworkers and the people who you care about and the people who you play cards with or basketball with or go to the movies with. You think about the answer to that question, that if you knew that you would live to be 100 when you were 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, or even 80, how would you live your life differently so that you didn't get there crippled, broke, or alone? And it's an important question because and it's interesting because when I first started to ask that question, I was blown away by the response. People would say to me, Dr. Plasker, no way, man, 100? Are you kidding me? Grandma's like 85 and she doesn't know me. I'm not doing it. If I get like that, shoot me. I don't want to be like that. And I'd have other people that would say to me, you know what? I do want to live to be 100. That would be really cool to be triple digits. I mean, I liked it when I turned 10. It was double digits. Triple digits, that would be really cool. And so the responses were all across the board. And so I started to do the research, and I found out that Max was not an isolated case, that actually 100-year-old people are the world's fastest growing group. In fact, it's interesting, just yesterday or 2 days ago, October 22nd, there was an article about a man who is the oldest Holocaust survivor or Auschwitz survivor. Did anybody see the article? It was the oldest Auschwitz survivor, 108 years old, just recently passed. And when you start to have this discussion, you realize that this is in the news all the time. Like on the Today Show. You ever watch the Today Show? Anybody ever watch the Today Show? They have this Smucker's 100-year-old birthday segment. It used to be like 20 years ago, maybe once a month, they'd have, Mary turned 100, wow! Now, you got to be like 108 to get on the Smucker's list. It's like a scrolling list. Every day, it's a new scrolling list because it's the world's fastest growing group. And when you think about that, you say, okay, well, what does that have to do with me? Come on, I'm only 30, I'm only 40. Come on, 100? Come on, I got plenty of time before I start thinking about that. Come on, I don't need to think about that now. Let me tell you something. Where you are today, knowing that there's a possibility that you may live to be 80, 90, 100 years or beyond, let me tell you something. How you live your life today is going to have an impact not just on your quality of life today, but it will have an impact on your quality of life every day along the way. Every day for the rest of your life is going to depend on the choices that you make. So when you look at this possibility of longevity, and there's a number that we call your empire formula. In fact, if you take out this folder, everybody should have one of these folders. Take out this folder, and on the inside of this folder, you'll see that there's a formula called your empire. It's under life expectancy facts on the bottom left. And there's a calculation here called your empire. It stands for minimum potential years remaining. And the way that you come up with this number is you write down the age of your oldest grandparent who ever lived in your family. So maybe it's 83, maybe it's 72, maybe it's 94, maybe it's 67, maybe it's 102. So how old is the oldest parent or grandparent or great-grandparent in your family that ever lived? Or may still be living? Minus your current age equals your empire, your minimum potential years remaining. You with me? Okay. So everybody do your calculation. What is your empire? 26. Okay. What do you think about that? Not enough. Okay. Not enough. Not enough. Okay. What's your empire? 60. Okay. What do you think about that? Still too young. Okay, so you say 26 not enough. Remember, minimum. It's the minimum potential years remaining. 60, not enough. What's your empire? Anybody? Come on, let's hear. 20. Okay, what do you think about that? Huh? You don't like it? You don't like it. Okay, minimum. Minimum potential years remaining. Okay, anybody else? And what do you think about that number? It's a great minimum. See, here's the thing. What this number means is that based on what we know about your family history, this is the minimum potential years that you have left. Now, it's not the maximum years, because the reality of it is based on lifestyle choices that person in your family may have made, how they lived their life, how they took care of themselves, how they ate, how they took care of their spine and nervous system. The minimum is not the maximum. Do you follow me? The minimum is just the minimum. Now, can it be less for you with poor choices? Yeah. Can it be longer with good choices? Yeah. So it all depends on your choices, and it's interesting. You know, we have had people around the country where we've done this formula, and their empire was -1 or -7. We've even had -15. Now, how would you get a minus number here?
Outlive your grandparents.
You outlive the oldest people in your family that ever lived, and then you have a minus number. Because your minimum is not your maximum. See, the minimum is just the starting point. But here's the thing that I know most of us are thinking, which is important to all of us. Is it the quantity of years that really matters, or is it the quality that really matters? See, it's the quality. See, we know, like you drive around Los Altos and you drive around all of these communities and little cities here in Northern California, and there are assisted living centers all over the place. True or not true? See, these assisted living centers, these are filled with a generation of people that didn't know they were going to live this long, so they didn't know how to take care of themselves to ensure an active, healthy, long life. This is a generation that, if you look back, Tom Brokaw wrote about this group called The Greatest Generation in a book. It was a TV series. And he wrote about the greatest generation, the people that built this country, World War I and World War II. And they built this nation, and see, now they're teaching us once again that we are probably going to live longer than we ever thought. See, this greatest generation, because they didn't know they were going to live this long, they were blindsided by it, so they have become, sadly, the nursing home generation. Not because of their age, but because they didn't know they were going to live this long, so they didn't know how to take care of themselves to ensure an active, healthy, long life. See, when this generation was born, their life expectancy scientifically was only 50 years. See, science said, hey, based on what we know, you're probably going to live 50 years. And if you're lucky, you'll make it to 55 or 60. And then after that, you'll be living on borrowed time. See, this is very interesting to me because, and what I'm about to say, I believe is very profound. We are the first generation in history that is getting the advance notice that whether we like it or not, want to or not, we will probably live longer than we ever thought, whether we like it or not, want to or not. So what do we do with this information? How do we live our lives differently so we get there in style, with health, vitality, energy, to ensure our best life every day on our way to a sensational century?
You live your life. You live it.
Yeah, and how we going to all live it starting today, making some different choices. So here's the thing, knowing now that you may have 40 years or 30 years or 60 years, how would you begin to live your life differently to ensure quality not just for today, but every day along the way? What changes would you make? How many of you, honestly, think about it, how many of you know that there are some changes that you absolutely need to make? Raise your hand if you know there are some changes. Okay? All right, good. So you know there are some changes. Here's a good question. How many of you know that you need to make these changes for at least a week? Anybody a month? Anybody 6 months or a year? See, it's not going to go away until you make the changes. Here's an important question. How many of you know that not making the changes that you know you need to make is causing some level of suffering? Yes? Okay. So how much suffering is it going to take for you to make the changes that you know you need to make? It's interesting because we call it the lifestyle care continuum. The lifestyle care continuum, in fact, we call it the lifestyle care continuum. It's on the inside of your folder here. The lifestyle care continuum, there are 3 aspects to the lifestyle care continuum. If you look on the left, that area in red, that's called crisis care. Crisis care, that's, you need it. You have a crisis, you need it. This generation, this nursing home generation, this greatest generation, their philosophy was if it ain't broke, don't fix it. From a healthcare perspective, they were very crisis care oriented. They were motivated by crisis. Think about the value system of that generation. The value system of that generation was if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And they define broke as either serious life-threatening diseases or severe excruciating pain. And they would tough it out until they couldn't go on any longer. And then when they couldn't go on any longer and there was absolutely no choice anymore, then they'd go to a doctor or they'd go to the chiropractor. And if you wait and are crisis-oriented, see, that generation, for many of them, they lived crisis to crisis to crisis to crisis. But then what happens is as time goes on, those crises become more severe. So where maybe you just go and get a quick adjustment or a pop or a crack to make you feel better, or you go to get a drug to make you feel better, what ends up happening as time goes on, as your body decays and deteriorates because of the way you take care of it, what ends up happening is, what ends up happening is that you need more severe interventions, right? So you need organs removed or surgeries, do you follow me? To repair damage that's extreme. That's a crisis to crisis to crisis-oriented life. On the other side, you see people that are living active, healthy, quality lives to 80, 90, 100 years and beyond. People that are living and expressing their full potential throughout their lifetime. There was a guy just recently who just set a record, a bicycle rider, a cyclist who set a record for 100-year-old people and people over the age of 80, just like this incredible statistic of riding unbelievable amounts of mileage, and I can't remember the stats right off the top of my head. But if you go to my Facebook page, and in fact, You can all go like it. It's 100 Year Lifestyle on Facebook. Excuse me. I've been talking a lot lately. I'll tell you a story. I had a dream. It was actually a nightmare that God came down and said to me, Eric, we've only given you a certain number of words in your lifetime, and when you're done, you're done. I woke up in a cold sweat, completely freaking out. So it doesn't have to be a deteriorating future. Do you know the oldest woman on record, Madame Jean Clomet from France? She lived to be 122 years old. Do you know what she was doing at 121? She recorded a rap CD at 121. Come on, everybody say that's cool, right? Come on, that's cool, right? Or bike riding. You know, we have pictures of people that are barefoot water skiing at 100 years old. See, there's an image of longevity for our culture that is just not true. It's just not real. The image is of the decay and the deterioration and the suffering. And it doesn't have to be like that. See, the reason that it's like that for so many of these people is because they didn't know they were going to live this long, so they didn't know how to take care of themselves to ensure an active, healthy, quality life.
But even if they'd known, I don't think they knew what to do. If they went to the doctor, they just gave them more pills.
Well, what's interesting is, and we'll get to that, they took care of themselves by a different set of rules. The people that got there with quality, and that's what the 100-Year Lifestyle describes, because it's not a secret. How to get there in style is not a secret. It's not a mystery that's like hiding under a rock or at the bottom of an ocean. See, these people, from the moment of conception, the moment that their sperm and their egg cell came together, and they developed from one tiny cell into 80 quadrillion cells, the blueprint to live to 100 and beyond quality years was present at the moment of conception. Do you understand? It was there. And the lifestyle along the way and the choices along the way determined, did people get there? Because if you look at the 100-year-old people, we said it's the world's fastest growing group. Some of these people are getting there in style, and some of them are rotting away. I remember when I first started to look around and say, okay, so what do all these people have in common? Did they all eat broccoli? And I'll tell you one interview that I did, and this one really blew all the theories. I asked a 115-year-old woman, I said, what's your secret? She said, simple, I stopped smoking at 91. And so to look at it and you say, okay, well, what is the one thing? How do people live their life if they're getting there with quality? I mean active, healthy, moving, living, really living, not just rotting away, not just deteriorating, not just sitting around waiting to die. See, the other part of it, there's a big part, vision. Having vision for your life, your extended life, is a big part of living your ideal 100-year lifestyle. Having vision. We've all heard the expression, where there's no vision, the people perish, right? Having vision for your extended life is essential to have great quality of life as you age. The challenge for this current generation of seniors, because they didn't know they were going to live this long, so they didn't know how to take care of themselves, they're also mentally living on borrowed time. So they're sitting around, waiting around. I'm wondering, is today going to be my last day? So they watch the 7 o'clock news and the 9 a.m. news and the 12 o'clock news and the 5 o'clock news. They take a nap wondering if they're going to wake up to watch the 7 p.m. news. Then they go to bed and they do it again, wondering, when is it going to happen to me? What we have to understand is that not having vision, squanders human potential. What would it be like if we, in our world today, if we embrace the consciousness of the 100-year lifestyle, realizing that we were going to live longer than ever, that the odds are we were going to live longer than ever, and we really made a commitment to live with vision. One of my favorite, I go to visit my daughter in Colorado. She's at the University of Colorado. And they have a big billboard there of a 95-year-old college graduate, the oldest college graduate ever on record. I mean, seriously, if you knew that you were going to live to be 100, how would you change your life? How would you live your life differently? You know, it's interesting because I initially, when I first put this out there, because I'm not a procrastinator, I get a lot of stuff done. I got concerned that if people thought they had more time than ever, that they would actually start procrastinating. It's like, well, got 100 years. Maybe we ought to just wait till like 3 weeks from next year, you know? But you know what I found out was actually true? That just the opposite was true. Because one of the things that keeps people from moving forward with their vision or working on their vision is they don't think they have enough time. Not an excuse anymore. Not an excuse anymore. So if you're making choices along the way, not just crisis to crisis to crisis choices, but lifestyle choices that support you expressing your full potential over the course of your entire lifetime, come on, how many think that would be a much, much more exciting life, yes? Oh, yeah, a much more exciting life. And when would be the best time to start? Everybody say now. 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 Right now. See, so what we're talking about tonight is, if you look at your folder again, you have crisis care on the left, lifestyle care on the right. Lifestyle care is about want. See, crisis care is about need. You know what one of the biggest challenges we have in our country today, in my opinion, is that we think we have a healthcare system and we don't. We have a crisis care system. It's a crisis care system. It's designed to just take care of you partially, cheaply, if you have a crisis. See, lifestyle care is about want. Do you follow me? It's about want. You've got to want it. Health is a choice. You've got to want to be healthy. And so when crisis care is about need, lifestyle care is about want, we can barely pay for need. It's like we want to put all the responsibility of what we need from a healthcare perspective, or I should say a crisis care perspective, on the government and on the insurance companies, and they could barely pay for that. Who's going to pay for, whose responsibility is lifestyle care? Yeah, it's yours. I mean, seriously, if you just sit around waiting for somebody else to be responsible for your own good choices and blame it on the government or the insurance companies that you're not healthy, that is not working for our country. And it's not working for you. And I'm preaching to the choir because most of us here are pretty healthy. Think about that, though. I mean, lifestyle care, it's about want. You've got to want it. And you've got to be willing to take the responsibility for it. See, there's a healthcare hierarchy of the 100-year lifestyle that if you read the book and if you study any of the materials, it's very simple. It goes like this. Self-care first, healthcare second, crisis care last. Self-care, these are the things that you need to do for yourself that nobody else can do for you. See, simple. Nobody can sweat for you. You know what, I'm really tired. Would you get up and sweat for me tomorrow? Just take 30 minutes. Just sweat for me. I've been traveling. I've been doing. Just take 30. Can't be done. That's something you have to do for yourself. Nobody can sleep for you. I don't mind doing that one, right? So I don't mind doing that one. See, but that's something, you have to do it for yourself. And so self-care, that's your responsibility. Sitting up straight, having good posture, that's your responsibility. Nobody can sit up straight for you.
We all sit up straight.
Right, there you go, right? And think, how many of you in your job, between your commute and your job, sit at least 4 hours a day? Raise your hand if you sit at least 4 hours a day. Raise your hand high, at least. Anybody at least 6 hours a day? Okay? Yeah, or longer. Think about it. If you sit 6 hours a day, that's, if you live to be 100, you will spend 25 years of your life in a chair. That's a lot of sitting. Our spines, our bodies were not designed to sit like that. We were designed to move. See, so nobody can sit up straight for you. See, self-care. Health-care, these are the things that you need to do for yourself that you can't do for yourself. See, I'm a chiropractor. I can sit up straight, but I can't adjust my own spine. I have my good friends and fellow affiliates do it for me. You can brush and floss your teeth, but you can't do a detailed, thorough cleaning. Who does that for you? See, that's health care. See, self-care are the things you do for yourself that nobody can do for you except you. Health care is the things that you need to do for yourself that you can't do to yourself. And then crisis care is last. You know what we've done in this country? We've made crisis care first. We've made health care crisis care. And because of it, we have a sick and suffering culture. You know, they say, you hear on the news, say, well, we have the greatest healthcare system in the world. No, we don't. We have one of the worst healthcare systems in the world. Do you know that in the United States, when I wrote The 100-Year Lifestyle, it came out, the initial book came out in 2007. The next edition is going to come out next year, the second edition. The United States ranked 37th in life expectancy in 2007. 37th. Everybody say that stinks. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Yeah, it stinks. You know what they are now? You know what we are now? 50th. 50th. It's getting worse. With all this talk about, you know, Obamacare and all this stuff that they're bringing, all this stuff that they're all talking about, it's worse. 50th. Do you know infant mortality? There are 44 other countries that have better infant mortality than the United States of America. And when you think about some of these basic core numbers, you really have to start to question the leadership of the direction of where we're going with this care. Do you know that we take in this country, think about this, this is an insane statistic. In the United States, we have 5% of the world's population and take over 50% of the drugs in the world. 5% of the world's population, and we take over 50% of the drugs. I just did an interview. You should go to the 100-Year Lifestyle. Go to 100yearlifestyle.com. There's a YouTube button on the bottom left. Click on it, and it'll take you to our YouTube channel. I just interviewed a woman named Gwen Olson. who I get chills up my spine thinking about it. This woman was one of the top pharmaceutical sales reps. And she wrote a book just recently. She quit her job after 15 years. She went from company to company to company. She was so good at selling prescription drugs to doctors so they would sell them to patients. She was so good at it that other drug companies would kind of pull her away to get her to sell their drugs. And she climbed the ladder. She was in the top 3% of sales as a pharmaceutical rep for all the drug companies that she worked for until she just quit. And you know why she quit? She could not deal with, well, the kicker was she started to do some research on her own to find out, hey, you know, what are these drugs really doing? Because what she was frustrated by was how the drug companies were teaching her to sell. How the drug companies were teaching her to sell. Kind of like you see all these flying people drug ads on TV. You know what I'm talking about? I call them flying people drug ads. People flying around like, oh, I'm happy, while they say side effects could be death, could cause death, could cause death. I call those flying people drug ads. And hearing her story, and you know what really caused her to stop? Her niece was put on psychotropic drugs, prescribed by the doctors, and she ended up killing herself by lighting herself on fire.
Oh, my God.
It's a horrible story. That particular story it's in her book. Her book is called Confessions of an RX Drug Pusher. You should listen to that, watch that interview. You should have your family watch that interview. Because every day when we wake up, we don't even realize how ingrained in this crisis care system that we are. See, crisis care is about need. Lifestyle care is about want. You got to want to be healthy. Waking up every day, inspired to be healthy. And even when you're not feeling it, pushing yourself anyway and getting the inspiration from the choices that you make. Letting your choices inspire you. You with me? Yes? See, that's why we call it that middle piece of this continuum. We call it the critical transition. See, crisis care is about need. You got to have it because you're in a crisis. Lifestyle care is about want. What the 100-year lifestyle is about in so many ways, it's about making the critical transition from crisis care to lifestyle care. See, when you make that critical transition from crisis care to lifestyle care, from need to want, it changes your entire life. It's exciting.
Okay, lots of people on buses and trains, no, can't afford it. I can't afford it. Well, it's kind of care. I can't afford it. We tell them.
I'm getting there.
And also, how about health plan? Oh, there's medicine involved. Healthcare plan, homeopath, nothing alternative chiropractic in there, is it?
I don't think all the details are clear on that yet. There's a lot of fuzzy math in there. I'm not really sure. But here's the thing. That critical transition from need to want is critical for you to live an active, healthy life, period. You have got to make that transition. Let me give you an idea of what this critical transition is like. Have you ever known somebody that went on a diet, lost the weight, and then gained the weight back? Raise your hand if you ever have known somebody to do that, right? Okay, you know why that happens? Because they never made the critical transition to make healthy eating a part of their lifestyle. See, so they did the crisis, but they never went through the critical transition to make it a part of their lifestyle. You with me? So do you get it? The critical transition is critical. 2 weeks ago, maybe it was, I was at a party, and there was a guy there who was eating this, he was very overweight, and he was eating all these bad foods. And he said to me, I just went to my doctor, and, he gave me some pills for this. So I figured since I'm taking the pills for it, I could just continue to eat it. See, not going through the critical transition. You see? There's no critical transition there. It's like at some point, you've got to take the things that you know that are good for you and make them a part of your lifestyle. And when you do that, oh my goodness, that's when the quality really kicks in. See, so there are 3 life-changing principles. They're actually in your folder if you want to look at them. By the way, is this a good session so far? Yes? We enjoying this? Cool. There are 3 life-changing principles of the 100-year lifestyle. The first one is, change is easy. Thinking about change is hard. The second one is, change comes one choice at a time. Think progress, not perfection. And the third one is, if you're going to make a change, make it with your ideal 100-year lifestyle in mind. Okay, so let's look at this briefly. So change is easy, thinking about change is hard. How many of you know when you sit down, every time you sit down to a meal, you have a choice to make, yes? Every time you go to spend money on something that's either good for you or not good for you, you have a choice to make. Okay, so there are always choices. Change is easy, thinking about change is hard. When you commit to the changes and you get off the fence, like should I or shouldn't I, when that goes away, because you've already committed, do you see what I'm saying? Because you've committed to it, you close the door to the other possibilities and you get on track. Things just start lining up for you. You'll see it for your health. All of a sudden, like we see it in our practice, people that commit, because we see a lot of lifestyle care people in our chiropractic practice, a lot. Our affiliates, 100-year lifestyle affiliate chiropractors, we see lots and lots and lots of lifestyle care people. Why? Because it's a priority. All of a sudden, it's like, it's just what I do. I keep my spine and nervous system aligned and balanced. It's just what I do. I eat healthy. Why? Because it's just what I do. Occasionally, I have some balance there. But as a lifestyle, I eat healthy. Being fit is a part of a lifestyle. We started to talk about what are the things that people who are living quality lives to 80, 90, and 100 years and beyond, it's not rocket science. So you ask, what's the secret? You know what the secret is? They don't wake up and kill themselves every day. They wake up, they eat healthy as a part of a lifestyle, they're fit as a part of a lifestyle, they take care of their posture. You think about as chiropractors, I could tell you how important is the spine and nervous system. The countries on the other side of the world that are not 50 in life expectancy, but in the top 10, you see it in the parks. What are they doing in the parks? Tai Chi. They're taking care of their posture, their spine. It's a priority. It's the lifeline of your body. And in our country, we sit all day. We ache because we sit all day. And our spine is all twisted from sitting all day, just one of the reasons. And then we take a pill so we can not feel the pain and sit longer. That's not how they do it in other parts of the world. It's not rocket science. See, so change is easy. Thinking about change is hard. See, when you commit to change, it's like, well, what do I do? Well, I'm not really sure. Well, then you know what? You get somebody to support you. You get a book, you read, you explore, you go on the internet, you learn about ways to keep yourself healthy. You attend a program like this. You bring somebody with you. See, change is easy. Thinking about change is hard. When you commit to the changes, all the resources start to line up into your life. Because you're committed to change. I actually spoke to a doctor just a couple hours ago. And he said to me, you know what? I've had a crisis care practice for the last 7 years. And I just decided I'm sick of seeing sick people. I need to be a better doctor. Can you help me? He made the commitment, the resource showed up. Do you follow me? You start to make the commitments, the resources start to show up. So then honor those choices. Change is easy. Thinking about change is hard. Here's the next one. Change comes one choice at a time. Think progress, not perfection. This is a big one. You know, it's not the first cookie that makes you fat. It's all of them. So we have some balance here tonight. I call it balance, right? So you have one a cookie or two cookies, but as a lifestyle, if that's how you eat, it's not healthy. See, so it's not the first cigarette that gives you lung cancer, it's all of them. And it's not the first adjustment that fixes your body, even if you feel better after you get adjusted. It's all of them as a part of a lifestyle that keep your body healthy. So each time you're faced with a choice, eating, moving, sitting, taking care of your spine and nervous system, make them choices that support your ideal 100-year lifestyle, which is the third one, which is if you're going to make a change with your ideal 100-year lifestyle in mind. You know, think about it. Seriously, think about it. If I said to you, you know what? You're going to live to 100. You are. What changes would you start to make? Some of you would like freak out, maybe jump off a bridge. Don't do that. Don't do that. Make a change. Make a change. Think about it. If I said to you, you know what? You are going to live to 100. You say you have 40 years left, 30 years left, that's minimum. You're going to live to 100. If you were going to live to 100, how would you change your life today? Think about it. You know, I just turning 50 when I was, 42 or 41, I was 40 pounds heavier than I am today. People said to me, wow, you lost all that weight? I said, no. I said, yeah, you did. I said, no. I ain't finding it. I didn't lose anything. It was never mine. It was never mine. It's funny because have you ever, and here's what I love about, one of the things that I love about chiropractic so much, which you'll love about it if you really begin to understand it as a part of a lifestyle, is we work with the body's innate intelligence. The body has an amazing innate intelligence, an amazing ability to adapt. And when I say innate intelligence, here's what I mean by that. Like right now, you're sitting here, and inside of you, how many of you ate some of that food back there, right? That Dr. Lucia, how about a big round of applause for Dr. Jamie Lucia for putting this together for us, right? So we ate some of that food, right? Do you know that by tomorrow, that food is going to be the cells of your body? Some of it will be eliminated, and some of it will become the cells of your body. Come on, everybody say that's cool. That's very cool. That function, we say that that's performed by your body's innate intelligence. See, your body's intelligent. It's doing it whether you want it to or not. It's just breaking it down. See, everybody stand up for a second. Watch this. Here's innate intelligence at work. Everybody I want you to just bounce on your toes a little bit. Feels good, doesn't it? Come on, say, yep, feels good, right? Okay. Okay, keep going, keep going, keep going. Okay, stop. All right, how many of you can feel the circulation? Yes? Okay, you just moved your toes up and down, and your heart's beating a little faster. The oxygen or the blood is flowing around your system a little bit quicker because you have an innate intelligence that knows how to adapt. You see? Think about this. You can sit down. That was good. See, think about this. This is one of my favorite analogies. This is crazy. This is why you have to take care of yourself and nurture your innate intelligence. Make sure that it's working. See, everybody hold your hand up like this. And I'm going to count to 1. And when I say 1, you're going to put your 1 finger up. Okay? You ready? Let's see how fast you are. Ready? 1. That was a miracle. Okay? Now, you just think you went like that. Okay? Here's the miracle of this. I said 1. You saw 1. When I said it, the air came out of my mouth at a certain frequency that caused this thing in the back of my throat to wiggle in such a way that your ear, this thing on the side of your head, captured the sound waves, which wiggled something on the inside of your ear that said 1, that caused you to do that in a split second. Because a signal was sent from your brain. From the time I said 1 to you heard it, saw it, message over your nervous system, bam, split second. Come on, that's a miracle. That's insane. That's a miracle. And you have this intelligence within you that enables you to adapt. Now, if you didn't have an innate intelligence, if you ate too much, you would explode. Right? If your body didn't have an innate intelligence to help you adapt and you ate too much, you would explode. Your stomach would just burst. But instead, you eat too much, your body retains it. Instead of killing you, it adds extra weight because it figures you're going to go hibernate somewhere and you're going to need food while you're sleeping for 3 months. You have an innate intelligence. Do you know your innate intelligence communicates with your body over your nervous system? Your nervous system controls everything. There's another clip on our YouTube channel. It's called Essential Innervation. And it talks about how if you really understand your nervous system and you understand how to nurture it, which is what your chiropractor does, is that if you think about without the innervation, without the nerve supply, we call it, it's like your body's natural IT system. How many of you know when I say IT system, how many of you know what I'm talking about, right? Okay, like your computers, your nervous system. So your IT system, your innate intelligence, your nervous system is like your natural IT system. In fact, there's an article on our website on it right now also. So without it, if you don't have that IT system, if those nerves are cut, the body does not function. I spoke at Life University 4 days ago. Big group of people, about 1,800 people. And I shared the stage with a woman who was shot accidentally in her neck, where the bullet went actually through her spinal cord and paralyzed her. So she can't move. From that point down, she does not have function. So she can't move her arms. But you say, did she hurt her arms? No. What'd she hurt? Where was the injury? Her neck. See, without it, without that IT system innately, the body cannot function. Life is not possible. If there's interference to it, that natural IT system, if there's interference, bless you, then health is not possible. Now, I'm just curious, obviously this group was brought here by chiropractors. How many of you are under chiropractic care? Just curious. Okay, so almost all of you. So if there's interference to it, that natural IT system, health is not possible. If the nerve supply is not communicating properly between the brain and the body, your body does not get the messages it needs, and your health suffers on every level, whether you feel it or not. And here's the thing, according to the research, which is also in your folder here, that it says nerve compression can exist without pain. That means you can have it and not feel it. You can have it and not feel it until all of a sudden your body just stops. So the challenge for a lot of you, I was talking to some of you earlier, is that you only go and get adjusted when you feel it, when you feel like you need it. Well, that's not a healthy way to do it. That's crisis care based on need. It's not lifestyle care. Do you follow me? What you're going to find is those of you that make that critical transition from crisis care to lifestyle care, you're going to realize that with it, and if you optimize it, that natural IT system of your body's going to start to function better than you ever thought possible. That's why the top athletes and the top performers in the world, almost all of them are under regular chiropractic care as a part of a lifestyle, performance-based care, going through that critical transition to lifestyle care. It's interesting because one of my patients way back, I took care of a guy who, you know who Vince Lombardi? Remember Vince Lombardi? You know the name, right? He played football for Vince Lombardi. Well, at 58, 60 years old, this guy was mangled. His x-ray looked like a 90-year-old. But back then, they didn't know how to take care of themselves, right? See, that's the premise, the whole premise of the 100-year lifestyle. These people are not getting old before their time because they're old. They're getting old before their time because they didn't know how to take care of themselves to ensure an active, healthy, long life. We're the first generation in history getting the advance notice that whether we like it or not, want to or not, we're going to live longer than we ever thought. How do we get there in style, right? So how does this apply to somebody like this? Well, here's a guy that played football for Vince Lombardi and is a cripple at 58. And today's athletes, like you take a look at Jerry Rice, right, from the 49ers, the top receiver in the history of the game. Played I don't know how many years, more yardage, more catches than anybody, also more hits than anybody. And when he retires, he's not mangled. He goes out and competes on Dancing with the Stars. You know, he's the spokesperson for the Council on the Foundation for Chiropractic Progress. It's why the top athletes are all utilizing chiropractic care to keep their nervous system functioning, lifestyle care. So you think about for yourself of the changes. How many of you know after this talk you need to make at least 1 or 2 or 3 changes? Yes? Yes? How many of you are going to make a change? Yes? Okay. So think about this. You make that critical transition from crisis care to lifestyle care, watch so many things change in your health. So many things will change in your health. So many things will change. Your digestion may improve. You'll sleep better. You'll have more energy. It won't just be about pain management. It's a bigger game. A couple of final thoughts as we start to wind down. Has this been a good session, though, so far? Yes? Yeah? Thought-provoking? Yes? When it comes to fitness, right, we all know that we need to be fit, yes? Okay? That One thing that you will never see is rarely ever see an overweight centenarian. You will rarely see an overweight centenarian. Centenarian is the word for a 100-year-old person. So if you want to live an active, healthy life, you have to be fit. There are 3 components to being fit that are essential. And we say in the 100-year lifestyle, in the 100-year lifestyle workout that you've got to get your ESS, your S, in shape. So you got to get your S in shape. Okay? You got to get your S in shape. Your ESS, endurance, strength, and structure. All 3 are important to quality of life as you age. All 3 of them. So let's look at each one of them separately, quickly. The first one is endurance. Okay, the first one is endurance. Listen, if you want to have you got to have a healthy heart if you're going to live quality life to 80, 90, 100 years and beyond, yes? Okay? Okay, so endurance training, cardiovascular exercise is important. Okay, that's one component of the S. But by itself, it's not enough. We see lots of marathoners. A lot of our chiropractors here see lots of marathoners or distance runners, people that are heavy into endurance, but they have no strength and poor structure. So they're weak and their spines are rotting away and they start to suffer because of how they have worn down their structure, their body. Follow me? So endurance by itself is not enough if you want to have quality of life as you age. Now, simple things you could do: walking, bike riding, running.
Turbosonic.
Massage?
Turbosonic. Dave has a iris machine called turbosonic. Sound moves the body. Growth hormone, circulation, transforming,
Turbosonic. Okay? I'm not sure what that is, but I'll take your word for it.
Look it up.
I will. I will look it up. So endurance, important. Strength is important. Why is strength important? See, some of you, maybe you go for walks, you go for power walks, but you don't do any strength training. It's very important to train and build your strength. Have you ever seen an older person struggle to get out of a chair? Yes? Okay. Strength equals independence and activity. Do not neglect the strength. Strength by itself, though, is not enough. I had one of my patients was a professional wrestler. I took care of a lot of professional athletes. This guy was big and strong. And he had no endurance, and his spine was a mess. So if you're strong but crooked and deteriorating, how will that contribute to quality of life as you age? So you have to have all 3. Do you get it? You have to have all 3. And then structure, spine, and nervous system, you got to have a healthy one, period. Without it, life is not possible. If there's interference to it, health is not possible. And see, all of you are under chiropractic care now. I encourage you to really take a look and talk to your chiropractor about, if you haven't made that critical transition to lifestyle care, what it would take for you to do that, to get off the pain treatment roller coaster. It will change everything in your life. Excuse me. Any questions or comments before we wind down? Think about, no? Yes? No? Okay, so think about the changes that you're going to make. Here's the thing. Remember Max from the beginning of this? You think about your aging parents and grandparents. And, I mean, even as simple as look at the tree. Are the people in your family history, are they aging like the tree on the left or the tree on the right? Think about it. Are they aging like the tree on the left or the tree on the right? How do you want your children to grow? Like the tree on the left or the tree on the right? And how are you personally, honestly, aging? Like the tree on the left or the tree on the right? Well, you can instantly start to make changes with simple choices starting with today, that will move you to grow like the tree on the right. Remember we talked about innate intelligence, right? We talked about innate intelligence. Can I tell you what I love about it? It's so cool because your body has the ability to adapt because of your innate intelligence. Have you ever seen somebody that you hadn't seen in a really long time and you look at them like, you act like, damn, dude, I haven't seen you in a long time. You look terrible. Oh, my God, what the hell happened to you, right? And you haven't seen him in a really long time, right? And then 2 years later, maybe you run into him again. It's like, damn, boy, you look good. Last time I saw you, I was ready to write you off. Look at you. You look great, right? That's because of your body's ability to adapt, which is all based on your choices, how you take care of yourself. So you think about yourself and you think about Max. Every time you're faced with a choice and you go out into the world, you look at your aging parents and grandparents, how they lived, and you think about how you want your life to be, the vision for your life. And it comes down to moment, making changes and making choices. Everybody say, I can do it. I can do it. Yes, you can. Yes, question?
Most of the people in this area do computer work, so average, they sit down 8 to 10 hours. So if you want to make a change, how do we quit the job?
Well, the one thing is that you have to look at how to counterbalance those things. So like for me, I know when I travel a lot or I sit a lot, I get adjusted more. So I go to my chiropractor, I get adjusted more. I just have to. So that's one thing that you have to start to look at. If your lifestyle, if there are like if you're commuting and you're in a car a long period of time, you have to look at, because of the way you sit, you have to take care of your spine, your nervous system, and make it a priority. Otherwise, your body gets so compressed. Do you follow me? So stretching and yoga and Tai Chi and getting your spine and nervous, getting your spine adjusted is an important part of a lifestyle if you sit a lot. One of the things that we say when it comes to lifestyle care is that, in fact, there's an article, The Benefits of Lifestyle Care. Thank you for putting that in there, Dr. Jamie. Okay, so that's a great article. So you'll see here that the intensity, if you notice, like on crisis care, like if you're coming for crisis care because you came in because you have to come, it's frequent visits close together. If you look at the dots here, it's frequent visits close together. Okay, the goal is to give you relief and stability. Then you feel better and your body's stable, right? So then the next phase of that care, that critical transition, it's less frequent visits spread out over a longer period of time regardless of how you feel, so your body can change. And then, because remember, nerve compression exists without pain, you could have it and not feel it. Remember that discussion? And then lifestyle care, look at the dots there. They get a little bit more spread out, but all the way to the right, do you see how they're close together again? Let me tell you why. See how she's nodding her head? Okay, because here's what happens. The top athletes and performers of the world, because their lifestyles are so intense, their lifestyle care is more intense. So here's a quote you can always remember. It's probably in that article. That the intensity of your lifestyle care is going to depend on the intensity of your lifestyle. So you have to look at your lifestyle and work with your chiropractor to determine what level of intensity lifestyle care you need that's going to support the intensity of your lifestyle. So if you decide you're going to run a triathlon or an Ironman or a Tough Mudder, your lifestyle care is going to get more intense. If you're going to meditate 3 times a day, your lifestyle care will be a lot less intense. Do you follow me? So based on what your lifestyle is, get with your chiropractor to determine the frequency of lifestyle care that is right for you so that you can enjoy an active, healthy, long life. Great question. Yes?
So if you keep your body in shape, now they say as people live longer, they're getting Alzheimer's and dementia and stuff. Will this help keep that? Because you don't want to get there.
Absolutely. So I'm glad you brought that up, okay? All right, so based on that conversation that we had, and you'll hear it on this interview, go listen to the Gwen Olson interviews on 100 Year Lifestyle YouTube channel. Go to 100yearlifestyle.com, click on the YouTube channel, listen to the Gwen Olson interviews. My father died a year and 9 months ago at the age of 78. Now, Lipitor, the cholesterol drug, took his life 10 years before he died and killed him 10 years later. And it took his life because when he had a heart attack at the age of 49, he started taking these cholesterol drugs, which were not tested long-term, which cholesterol is one of the most important elements in your body. It's important for nerve conduction, and it's important for brain function. So when you take it long-term, he did not die of a bad heart. His heart kept on ticking while he lost his mind. Do you know that? And it's kind of sad because my father was a great man and I loved him. And I miss him. And I missed him for 10 years. And when you start to do the research, go to drugs.com. And you know, if you go regularly to 100yearlifestyle.com or to Dr. Jamie's website at drjamieluciadc.com, right? She puts articles on her website on a regular basis. Yours is what? Your website? 100yearlifestylesanjose.com. Okay? And yours is? Straight Back Chiropractic. So we have affiliates all over the place. Our goal is to share and disseminate information that will keep you healthy. One of the things that we know, if you go to, and there's articles on this, one of them is, and it's on probably all of your blogs, it's side effects or direct effects. They say that these side effects of drugs are side effects, but they're really direct effects because it changes your body's chemistry, whether you feel it or not. Do you follow me? So these drugs, a lot of the drugs that people are taking, and most people, as you get older, if you don't understand the conversation that you and I are having, they take one drug and then they start to take, and they take it for 5 or 6 or 7 years. So they start to get side effects, which are more symptoms, and then they take more drugs. They end up on 5 or 6 or 7 drugs that over time wipes out your brain. So the people that are living quality lives to 80, 90, 100 years and beyond, the majority of those people have never been sick. They eat healthy, they move, they take care of their posture, their spine, and their nervous system. That's how they live their life. They don't live drug-oriented lives. Yes?
There's a good resource book for you called Change Your Brain, Change Your Life. It is a name by Daniel Amen. It talks about how lifestyle choices affect your brain and how down the road that can affect things like, can cause things like dementia and things like that. Direct correlation between lifestyle and the health of your brain.
And there's so much information out there. The question is who is your resource? Is it the drug companies or is it people that really understand health? And my good friend over here said earlier, he said, you know, but people think they can't afford chiropractic care or they can't afford to eat healthy. I'm going to tell you what you cannot afford. There is really only one thing that you cannot afford. You know what it is? You cannot afford to get sick. That is the only thing that you cannot afford. You cannot afford to get sick. Everything else is a priority, should be a priority. And if you do that, you are on your way to a sensational century. How about a big round of applause to Dr. Jamie Lucia for setting this up tonight? To the Los Altos Parks and Recreation Community, right? How about a round of applause for them? 100-year horses, I like that. I heard somebody say. Very cool. All right, well, thank you, everybody. I appreciate you being here. I'm happy to sign books for whoever wants to sign them. Okay? Thanks.